Lamar Jackson's a more talented version of Tim Tebow, and all he gets pushback. Both guys were overdrafted. Both guys are projects, not prospects.
A number of teams have also requested that Jackson work out with the wide receivers as well. They want to see both work out. Some say give the quarterback spot a try and then see where you land rather than jumping that ship now.
We know he's a great athlete. The questions are, is he a great quarterback?
Lamar Jackson's really special. This he can't pass nonsense. Give me a break.
Coming out of Louisville, Lamar Jackson was supposed to be the next big thing, but not everyone saw it that way. In fact, most teams didn't see him as a quarterback at all. Heading into the 2018 NFL Draft, analysts were hyping up names like Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen, and even Josh Rosen. Lamar was the wild card, the guy with electric speed and highlight reels that looked more like a video game than real football. But that talent came with a label. He should switch to wide receiver. He's not accurate enough. He can't run an NFL offense. He's more athlete than he is quarterback. Scouts didn't just question his arm. They questioned his entire identity as a quarterback. That's what made Lamar's pre-draft moment so iconic. When a reporter asked if he'd work out as a wide receiver at the combine, Lamar didn't hesitate. He said, "No, sir, quarterback only." And that one line set the tone for his entire career. Lamar skipped the 40-yard dash. He skipped receiver drills. He was done proving he could run. He wanted to prove he could throw, and more importantly, that he could win doing it his way. Still, when draft night came, things didn't go the way he hoped. Pick after pick, quarterback after quarterback, Lamar's name stayed on the board. Then, with the 32nd overall pick, the Ravens traded up and grabbed him. Ozzie Newsom's last first-round pick as a GM. John Harbaugh had a plan, but even Baltimore wasn't fully sure what they had. Joe Flacco was still QB1 at the time, and the offense was built for him, not for Lamar's dynamic run-heavy style. But when Flacco got hurt, everything changed. Lamar was thrown into the fire, and suddenly the Ravens went from stale to unstoppable. Baltimore won 6 of their last 7 games, and Lamar led them to the playoffs. He wasn't perfect, of course. That playoff game against the Chargers was rough. But you can see it, the spark, the chaos, the raw potential. That offseason, the Ravens went all in. They rebuilt their entire system around him. New scheme, new weapons, new philosophy. It was Lamar's show now. And then came 2019. What Lamar did that season was nothing short of historic. He didn't just silence the critics, he obliterated them. He became the youngest quarterback in NFL history to win the MVP unanimously. He threw for over 3,100 yards, ran for 1,200 more, and accounted for 43 total touchdowns. The Ravens finished 14-2, the best record in football, and Lamar turned defenses into highlight fodder. He wasn't just beating teams, he was embarrassing them. This spin move against the Bengals, the 5 touchdown games, the energy, the swagger, the not bad for a running back quote after torching Miami in week 1. He wasn't just playing, he was rewriting what a quarterback could be. But here's what they don't tell you about that MVP year. It wasn't just raw athleticism. Lamar had one of the sharpest football minds in the league. His ability to read defenses pre-snap, manipulate safeties with his eyes, and improvise when a play broke down, that was film room mastery, not luck. And the Ravens weren't just running a gimmick offense. They built a scheme that was practically ahead of its time. While other teams were obsessed with pocket passers, Baltimore leaned into motion, play action, and zone reads. Defenses didn't know how to handle it. Lamar was diagnosing coverage faster than anyone realized. Still, the critics didn't go away. Some said he couldn't come back from behind. Others said his play style wouldn't last. But that MVP season showed something deeper. Lamar wasn't just trying to prove he belonged. He was redefining what belonging even meant. By the end of 2019, you could say he was the face of the league. Kids were mimicking his jukes, defensive coordinators were losing sleep, and the Ravens looked unstoppable. But football has a cruel way of reminding you how fast it can all change. In the playoffs, Baltimore ran into the Tennessee Titans. They forced Lamar to throw the ball 59 times, took away the run lanes, and the Ravens' rhythm fell apart. That loss became ammo for every critic who said his style wouldn't hold up in the postseason. And that's when the narrative started to shift again. What had been Lamar is unstoppable turned into, can Lamar win the big one? Overnight, the guy who made quarterbacking fun again was suddenly under a microscope. Every throw, every scramble, every injury was dissected like it proved a point. But even after that, Lamar didn't flinch. The following seasons with testing, new rosters, new offensive coordinators, and injuries that pushed him to his limit. Yet through it all, one thing stayed the same: the fire, the chip, the refusal to be anyone but himself. The story of Lamar Jackson didn't peak in 2019. That's just the peaks and valleys of an NFL career. The real test would come after, because what they're not telling you about Lamar Jackson is that greatness isn't built on highlight reels. It's built on how you respond when the league figures you out. And for Lamar, that next chapter was coming fast. After Lamar's 2019 masterpiece, everyone expected the Ravens to stay on top. Here's what they don't tell you about being that good and that young. The league does adjust. Defensive coordinators spent the entire offseason studying Lamar like he was a riddle they needed to solve. The Titans laid the blueprint in that playoff loss. Force him to win from the pocket, contain edges, and flood the middle of the field. Suddenly, every team tried it. 2020 wasn't bad by any stretch. Lamar still led the Ravens to 11 wins, rushed for over 1,000 yards again, and got his first playoff win against those Tennessee Titans in poetic revenge. But the magic of 2019 wasn't quite the same. And that's when the narrative machine kicked in. You know how it goes. One week, Lamar's revolutionizing football, and the next, he's figured out. TV shows started throwing phrases around like, he's a system quarterback, or he can't throw outside the numbers. What's funny is, when pocket passers rely on a strong system, it's called good coaching. But when Lamar does it, it's called a crutch. Baltimore's offense became the subject of every debate. Critics said it was too run heavy, too simple, too reliant on Lamar's legs. They wanted him to play like everyone else. Stand tall in the pocket, make deep reads, and throw 40 times a game. But that's not who Lamar Jackson is. That's not what makes him special. Lamar's genius isn't about playing football like everyone else. It's about forcing everyone to play on his terms. Even still, there were cracks in Baltimore's armor. Injuries started piling up, offensive linemen went down, receivers missed games, and the Ravens' passing attack never found consistent rhythm. The front office tried drafting Rashad Bateman and bringing in Sammy Watkins, a former number 4 overall pick, but nothing really clicked long term. And through all of that, Lamar carried the team. He was the offense. He was the system. There were games where he had to be everything: the passer, the rusher, the playmaker. Remember that Monday Night Football comeback against the Colts in 2021 when Lamar threw for over 440 yards and rallied Baltimore from 19 down and finished the game with 500 total yards? That wasn't the system. That was Lamar saying, "I am the system." But as Lamar continued to prove himself, the tension between him and the Ravens quietly grew. Contract talk started and then stalled. By 2022, it became one of the biggest storylines in sports. The question wasn't if Lamar was great. It was whether the Ravens believed he was great enough to get paid like it. He wanted a fully guaranteed contract, similar to Deshaun Watson's record deal with Cleveland. Baltimore wasn't ready to go that far. And suddenly the conversation shifted from football to finances, from touchdowns to trust. And here's where the media really twists things. People started calling him greedy. Others questioned his commitment because he was negotiating without an agent. But if you really think about it, Lamar was doing what he's always done, betting on himself. He wasn't just playing quarterback, he was managing his own future. When contract negotiations hit a wall, whispers started spreading like, he's selfish, he's holding the team hostage, he's not built for the long haul. But what most fans don't realize is how much pressure Lamar was under behind the scenes. The Ravens had built an entire identity around him. If he left, the whole foundation had to be rebuilt. Baltimore needed Lamar just as much as Lamar needed Baltimore. Still, things got messy. Lamar missed the last stretch of the 2022 season with a knee injury, and the team, of course, struggled without him. When he didn't travel to the playoff game against the Bengals, people questioned his leadership, even though he was still recovering from a serious PCL sprain. If any other quarterback sat out who was injured, it'd be called smart. When Lamar did it, it became drama. This is the double standard that's followed him his entire career. He's judged differently, not because of how he plays, but because of who he is and what he represents. Lamar Jackson isn't supposed to look like a traditional QB. He doesn't fit the prototype. He's flashy, emotional, and unapologetically himself. And that rubs a lot of people the wrong way because it makes them feel uncomfortable. But Lamar never fed into the noise. He trained and kept everything internal. Then in 2023, after months of uncertainty, he got the deal he deserved. A 5-year, $260 million contract, making him the highest paid NFL player at the time. For Lamar, it wasn't just about the money. It was about respect, proving that you don't have to conform to succeed. Once that deal was signed, the fire was back. He entered the 2023 season with something to prove again. Not just that he could still dominate, but that Baltimore was still his team. Under new offensive coordinator Todd Monken, the Ravens evolved. The playbook opened up and Lamar had more control at the line, more freedom to audible, and more trust to be the field general everyone claimed he couldn't be. And he thrived. He won his second MVP, becoming the only player in history to win 2 unanimous MVP awards before turning 28. Well, the second one was unanimous. He got 49 out of 50 votes because some voter decided that he shouldn't win the award. Absolute insanity. But he didn't just return the form, he elevated. But the crazy part is that even with all that, the debates never stopped. Some people still call him just a runner. Others say he's not built for playoff football. But what they're not telling you is this: Lamar isn't just changing how quarterbacks play, he's changing how they're measured. You can't evaluate him through the old metrics. His success isn't about passing charts or completion percentages. It's about impact. It's about how defenses have to re-engineer their entire playbooks just to contain him. By 2024, Lamar has cemented himself as one of the most unique talents in football history. But that's also when the next chapter began. One that had nothing to do with schemes or stats. But this time, it wasn't the media, the critics, or the front office. It was his own body. The injuries, the confusion, the silence might be the hardest test of all. Lamar Jackson has always played football on the edge of control, the edge of chaos, the edge of what's physically possible. That's what makes it electric. But that edge comes with a price. In 2023, after winning his second MVP, it felt like Lamar had silenced everyone, including the critics, the doubters, even the analysts who built their careers questioning him. He had new weapons, new plays, and a command of the Ravens offense that we hadn't seen before. He wasn't just the most athletic quarterback in the league, he was one of the smartest. But football doesn't care about momentum. It doesn't care about storylines or redemption arcs. It's a collision sport. And when you play the way Lamar plays, every game becomes a gamble. Every time he scrambles becomes a gamble. Late that season, Lamar took another one of those hits. Nothing dramatic, nothing that looked catastrophic on replay, but it was enough. A rolled ankle here, a tweak there, and suddenly the conversation wasn't about his MVP season anymore. It was about durability. The same talking heads who doubted him before started their greatest hits album again. But here's the part they never talk about. Lamar doesn't get injured because he's reckless. He gets injured because he's asked to do more than any other player in the league. Think about it for a second. Most quarterbacks throw the ball, hand it off, and move on. Lamar creates offense from nothing. When the play breaks down, it's not over, it's just the beginning. That level of improvisation is what keeps Baltimore alive. But at the same time, it's also what keeps him in constant danger. Oftentimes, Lamar doesn't give up on the play. It's very hard for him to just throw the ball away. And that is what has him in danger more often than not. And despite all that, he's never complained. He's never thrown teammates under the bus. He's never blamed play calling or injuries or the front office. But behind the scenes, things weren't simple. Rehab took longer than expected. Recovery wasn't just physical. It was mental. And when you rely on your body like Lamar does, every step you take after an injury comes with doubt. And that's what the media started another wave of speculation. Has Lamar lost a step? Is this the beginning of the decline? It's wild, right? One season removed from MVP and people were already talking about decline. But Lamar, like always, stays quiet, stays off social media, no interviews, no press conferences, just film, workouts, and trust with the process. While everyone else is arguing about whether his career had peaked, he was rewriting it. In 2024, Lamar came back lighter, sharper, and more controlled. The Ravens offense, once built around pure chaos, evolved into something far more dangerous. Organized, unpredictability. He didn't need to run 15 times anymore. He could dissect defenses with his eyes, with timing, with confidence. For years, people said Lamar couldn't throw outside the numbers. In 2024, he made a living out of there. People said he couldn't win from the pocket. That year, his passer rating inside the pocket was among the top 3 in the league. He became the thing critics said he'd never be. A precision passer with a nuclear button for legs. And while the numbers were impressive, what really changed was his leadership. Younger players gravitated towards him. The Ravens locker room started to feel like a version of a family, not with fear, but with confidence. By mid-season, the Ravens were contenders again, and the league started to realize something that should have been obvious all along. Lamar Jackson isn't an experiment, he's an evolution. The NFL is a copycat league. Whenever something new works, everyone rushes to duplicate it. But you can't duplicate Lamar. You can build RPOs, you can design option plays, you can coach mobility, but you can't take instinct or vision or the kind of insane awareness that lets Lamar see the field like it's slowed down half speed. That's what they're not telling you. It's not just that Lamar Jackson's a mobile quarterback. It's that his brain processes chaos faster than most people processes orders. Every time a play collapses, he doesn't panic. He calculates. He knows the angles, the leverage, the pseudo speed of every defender in front of him. It's not luck. It's a pattern recognition, a gift that no film session can teach. He's a 2-time MVP, and if you ask me, he should be 3-time MVP. The guy was the 32nd overall pick, and he's one of the best quarterbacks in football. The guy is simply amazing. He seems unfazed and poised at all times, regardless of what's going on, no matter how the game is going. Because what they're not telling you about Lamar Jackson is that he isn't chasing approval anymore. He's chasing legacy. He's redefining what greatness looks like, not by fitting into a mold, but by breaking it entirely. Yet, he has an entire system built around him. When he's not playing, the Ravens are terrible. Just look at last Sunday. They got destroyed 44-10. We can say their defense is bad, or they're missing this piece, or they're missing that piece. But over the years, when Lamar Jackson doesn't play, they're horrible. It speaks for itself. 10 years from now, when people talk about the modern quarterback, they won't start with Brady or Mahomes. They'll start with the man who forced the league to evolve, who showed that intelligence, athleticism, and swagger could coexist at the highest level. That's what they're not telling you about Lamar Jackson. He's not the next anything. He's literally the blueprint. Everybody knows Patrick Mahomes. He's the NFL's golden boy, the face of the league, the guy holding Super Bowl trophies like the TikTok trends. But here's the thing. What they don't always tell you is that Mahomes' story in the NFL isn't just about highlights and rings. It's about how he low-key changed the entire way quarterbacks are judged, how he made defenses rethink football philosophy, and how the Chiefs went from that fun Andy Reid team to a straight-up dynasty. But if you want to know what they aren't telling you about Patrick Mahomes, just click right here.